Hello, everyone. So, welcome to the third episode of the Sales Warrior Talk Show. Today, we have our guest Chris James, and he's live from Gillingham, England. Welcome, Chris,
Hi
and
guys and girls.
thank you for being my guest tonight. So, it's a night in India and in evening in England. So, so before we move to my viewers, before we move to our guest, I would like to tell you our viewers that on this show, we are going to have B2B sales expert coming from various domains and geographies who will be sharing their experience, their expertise, and their challenges and success journeys. And purpose is to help sales professionals to learn from them and expand their context, get clarity, direction, inspiration, and to build a dream career and dream life. And today's topic, the main topic is the features and benefit of e-learning program which Chris is providing for the sales managers and trainers. So as I told you, to discuss this, we have our guest Chris. So Chris, I just want to tell you about Chris. Chris is the founder of Train the Sales Trainer Limited, and he is having a teaching and coaching experience since 2010. He is an influencer and a coach with over 25 years of experience in leading training and development roles. Chris has created, built, and delivered world-class 6-month sales onboarding program, product training, CRM training, and advanced account managers and SDR sales coaching to sales consultants, and using his virtual e-learning and classroom-based learning across the globe. And coming to the academics, actually Chris has studied sports science at university and specialized in sports psychology. And he holds a qualified teacher status, that is QTS, and he also holds the highest football coaching award, the UEFA A certificate, A licensed. And with this, I am very happy to have you on my show, Chris. And I'm sure that our discussion will surely be going to help sales trainers, managers, and also to people who are looking out to make a career in sales.
Okay.
So Chris, with this, my first question to you is, I'm very curious to know your journey from being a football coach, holding the highest football coaching award, and then specialized in sports psychology, then moved into training, the sales trainer, and starting your own coaching business. So how this transition happens? What made you started in sales? Train the sales trainer, and where did you start? I
Uh,
just want to know from you.
okay. Have your viewers ever seen the Steve Jobs? He does a presentation to a university, and he talks about dots of his life and how the
Mhm.
dots all join together to bring the person he is now.
Right.
So my dots started really when I was 17, and
Oh.
I started breakdancing. Believe it or not, and I still can on a bad day, when no one's watching. So, and I found I really love teaching people, but that was
Mhm.
only part of what I wanted to do. My ambition in the world was to travel. My father was in the Navy, so I really wanted to travel. So I went and became a croupier in casinos, and I was
Mhm.
traveled all around the world in different cruise ships on different countries. But when I came back, I wrote down I didn't want to be in casinos anymore. So I wrote down on a piece of paper all the things I loved in life. And it kept coming back to sport. Because when I was young, I was a really great sportsman. And whilst I was working in casinos in London, I started to educate myself differently. So I started doing my coaching courses, and I started, working for teams like Arsenal and Chelsea and Mill and their academies. And I started training youth, and I got up to the highest level I could. Now, at the time, it's very difficult to break into football if you've never played at their level. For example,
Right.
all the managers, except for Mourinho, who I know, are all top footballers before, whereas I never was. So I couldn't actually break into the football league or get paid good money to do it. So I went back and thought, what am I going to do? So I went sideways and I became a PE teacher. At the age of 36, I went to university and got a degree in sports science, and I became a PE teacher. And then I found I didn't like kids very much. Not, well, I like my own, but other people's kids. Man, well, what's going on here? So I left teaching, and you have to give 3 months' notice. So I handed my notice in, and I became a door-to-door salesperson, knocking on the door saying, "Hi, my name's Chris, someone from EDF Energy. Can I just ask who you get your gas and electricity with?" And after about 3 or 4 months, the national sales trainer left, and I applied for the position. And because I had all this teaching knowledge, I've been a school teacher for 6 years, football coach for 3 or 4 years by then. I also had my own website where I coached coaches how to pass their coaching courses. And I was also a trainer for the Football Association in the UK. So it kind of all came together, and then I was offered the national sales job. And that was in 2010, 2011. And I've been in sales coaching ever since, in different guises with different styles of company.
Okay. That's really great. Very interesting journey. And so, with this, I want to know, so how people generally treat door-to-door salesperson. So in India, I'll give you these salesperson are not treated well. So they've been seen with a very ignored way. So what about England? They've been treated?
Well, today there was a door-to-door salesperson at my door. That's the first one that's been here for months. And on Facebook, on the local page, there was a warning gone out that there's a door-to-door salesperson in our area. So I knew he was coming. So when he came to the door, I sort of got the dog ready, and he sort of went off. Not that I was going to let the dog off, but that is the attitude in the UK, that anyone who knocks on your door is not respectable. And this all happens back to when I was actually a sales trainer at EDF Energy. Was people took the mickey when for example, they would say, "Okay, can you just sign this piece of paper to say that I've knocked on your door?" And someone signed a piece of paper. Next minute, they've changed their energy supplier. So what happened was the UK government banned door-to-door selling in around 2010-11.
Okay.
So it's not very well liked at all.
Oh. I was not knowing this actually. So most of the people, because who are selling a very FMCG product, mostly door to door, home appliances, they mostly rely on this door to door or face to face marketing guys most of the time.
Yeah. Well, we don't have it here. Okay. We are very Amazon led, I'm afraid.
Right. So even in our scenario also, we are changing a lot, the way we are doing business is completely changed now. So Chris, you are running this business of train the sales trainer for more than 10 years now. So what do you think, what the main features and benefits of your e-learning platform? Can you just want to share some main features and benefits?
Okay. I'm going to do something here, right? Okay. We're going to completely change the way we're going. Okay. Now, your viewers, and I can see you out there. Yes, you in the corner there. You're only half listening. Now, what I want you to do is I'm going to set you 3 easy tasks. Okay.
Okay.
Now, what I want you to do is say, and it's this easy. It is this easy, right? I want you to say 1 to 12 in 10 seconds. Okay. Simple, right? Off you go.
1 to 12.
That's not it. You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, do a different one.
Okay.
Right. Now, everyone out there who's done that, that's easy peasy lemon squeezy. Yeah, easy. Now we're going to do A to J. Okay, 10 seconds. A, B, C, D, E, F, go.
Okay. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J.
Brilliant. Now, here's the whole matter of this. Everyone out there has been able to do this, and you're all sitting there going, this guy's a bit strange. But I'm going to try something different with you now, okay? I want you to do them together. A1, B2, C3. All the way up to L. I'm going to give you 15 seconds. Now, everyone out there, give this a go because you're going to surprise yourselves. Are you ready?
Yeah, ready.
Go.
A1, B2, C3, D4, E5, F6, G7,
struggling,
H8, I9, J10.
Why did you struggle? It's simple. Yes. 1 to 12, A to J.
Because we are not habitual of doing this, I guess.
Yeah, we are. You've done 1 to 12 all your life, A to J all your life. So what I bring to companies is a knowledge of how we learn. Okay? So I teach everything that the sales manager can't teach you. Okay, for example, now imagine myself, okay? When I was a school teacher, Ofsted watched me teach, and they described my teaching as outstanding. When I wrote my first course, the license course, which we'll go into a bit later, the CPD, the Continued Professional Development people, said I was an expert in what I do. So now imagine if I'm giving you all my knowledge of educational science and sales methodologies, and I put all that together. And I've imagined if I could teach you how to onboard your people 1 month before last time. Imagine if I could get them accelerated learning. I could get them to be their best they could. Now, what impact would that have on your business? What impact would it have on your people, on those salespeople and their professional development? But more importantly, what impact would it have on your career if you could be the best sales trainer you could be? And that's what I do. I give courses to people that the sales manager cannot do. So we've just done that little A to L. And now the point of that is, it's very simple, is how we learn. Okay, the sales manager can't tell you how you learn. So what we don't realize is that every time we have a distraction, so you did A and B, that was different. It takes 0.2 of a second to analyze that thought. And then it gets harder and harder because not only are you analyzing the next thought and you're losing 0.2 seconds, you're also doubting yourself. So more things are coming in your mind than before. So when we do remote training, now there's people out there who will be flicking through their messages. She who must be obeyed or he who must be obeyed will be saying, has he finished yet? Has he finished yet? You know, there will be lots of things that are going on in the background that we don't realize in remote control, in remote learning. And it's these things that we miss. You know, why don't people completely learn a subject? It's because there's too many distractions. But we have to make people realize how their mind works before we can carry on. A good example is, how long do you think the perfect lesson is?
Sorry, come again, Krish?
How long do you think the perfect sales training lesson should be?
I think there is no such called, a time duration we can bound it, because as a salesperson grows, we need to teach, they need to get learned like, something else, right? Apart from what they are learning. But at least, 6 months, I think, right, is that minimum where they, that should be on the ground training also is required. What I believe.
For one lesson.
For one lesson.
How long should one sales training lesson last?
Maybe half day.
Half a day.
Yeah.
So right, let me give you an instance of something. Have you ever been, right, people are doing this now. Have you ever been to a conference?
Yeah.
So you've been to a sales conference, and the first lesson you go in and you're like, whoa, all this learning.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. And then the second one you go to, all this learning, all this lesson, and then you start getting very tired. And by the middle of the day, you're absolutely shattered. And you go home early.
Right. Yeah, I have
Why?
experienced this, Krish, actually. I have experienced
Why
this.
do we get so tired? Well, we get tired because the brain isn't what we think it is. Now, the brain has three main things: processing power, okay, your threshold, and your flow state. Now, your processing power, when you learn something, so your mind goes in, how would you say, in a constant way. It goes constant. It's not overachieving, underachieving. It's at a nice plateau. So when learning takes place, blood has to go to the brain. Stuff has to happen in the brain. So it draws on glycogen from other parts of the body. And after a period of time, it fatigues. Now, how many people out there have biscuits and cakes and sweets during their lessons? Because you think, oh, they need lots of sugar. But we don't need lots of sugar. We can't have sugar. The only way to replenish our glycogen is by sleeping. So if we do 3 hours of learning, we will forget 80% of what we've done.
Within 24 hours, I guess.
Within 24 hours. At the week, you'll lose another 10%. So why bother? If we are losing that much, why would we bother? So there must be a solution, mustn't there? There must be a perfect lesson length. There is a reason why dance, why piano people, why guitarists, when they do their training, when football coaches do their training, they only do 1 hour sessions. And they break it up. If you notice football, they'll do a warm-up. Then they will do a skill. Then they'll put that skill into a game. And then they'll do a cool down. 4 parts of a lesson. A warm-up, 10 minutes. Showing the skill, 15. Demonstrating the film, the 20. And maybe 5-10 minutes debrief. So the perfect lesson is 1 hour. But who is going to teach the new sales trainer how to develop their lessons? How are we going to teach young, these guys who come into sales training from sales, what is the perfect lesson? And that's what I do. I take them aside and say, okay, let's start with you. How did you start your podcast?
So I started with, just knowing how to do it first. Like, suppose you are asking me how I started initially.
Podcast. How did you start this podcast?
Okay. So I started with, telling about what this podcast is all about and giving your introduction and then going through that questionnaires, the structure way. So I have prepared a structure for this.
Okay. So you declared outcomes, you shared processes, and you sold benefits, roughly. That's roughly what we do when we do outcomes and that.
Right.
What could you have done differently?
Okay. What could I have done differently?
Yeah, what could you have done differently?
I can't think of this right now, Krish.
Okay, that's fair enough. So I'm challenging you a bit here. I'm sorry, and this is what I do to people.
Okay.
So what happens if you started with a story? I'll tell you a story, okay? In 1998, France won the World Cup. England didn't qualify, okay? It's not a big thing in the world of India or anywhere around the world. But in England, it was massive. They looked at France and said, France are doing this with their trainers. They're educating their trainers to be better. And we're ignoring our trainers. What we're doing is we're getting ex-footballers who don't know how to teach our young people. What good is that? So what they did is they sat down and they said, you know what we really need? We need the help of educational experts, educational scientists. We need the help of psychology experts. We need to sit down and teach the educators of the young all the way up to senior. Now, it's taken England 20 years to get into their first final. It's that long it's taken them. Let's look at another example. In 2012, England had the Olympics. In 2000, we hardly won any gold medals. Yet we won 24-25 in London because we went back and we looked at our education of young athletes and young sports people. And we said, we're not doing it right. So let's go back to now. Let's talk about sales training. Okay. Now, before I do that, I'm going to just talk slightly about education in England. In the 90s, English schools were failing. No one knew why. Couldn't get why. So the government at the time said, right, we're going to get the greatest people together and we are going to produce the greatest lesson. We're going to do whatever that, all those components that make the perfect lesson. And they were called TEEP. It's the Teacher Enhancement Enrichment Program. I can't say it either. But they were the cleverest people in education. And they came up with a 4-part lesson. Now, this 4-part lesson is, so we talked about what you could have done differently. So the first part of the perfect 4-part lesson is connect to the audience. You connected to the audience exactly the same way as every other podcast does.
Right.
You said who you are. You introduced me. You said this guy sort of knows what he's doing in a way. Yeah, in a way. But you didn't do anything that anyone out there would have gone, whoa, that's different. Wow, he's really connected to me. What happens if I would have started this and I would have asked a couple of questions? I'd have asked those 2 questions I asked you and then the ABC. And I said, okay, what I want you to do now is think about, as a sales trainer, how you can learn. And here's over to Gory now. And then you'd have said, and then we'd have come back. Just slightly different. What happens if I started with a story about school's education? So firstly, you could either start with getting them moving, getting people out there thinking straight away, or you could connect by a story that they think, do you know what, that really relates to what's going to happen for the rest of the podcast. So when we talk to sales trainers, they all do the same thing. They all sit there with this PowerPoint, yeah? They've got this big PowerPoint. There it is, where's my hand? Big PowerPoint slide, okay? And it's got all these listed. Today, you will be able to do this. You will be able to do that. You'll be able to do this. And everyone's going, oh my God, it's another lesson. So what I do is, right, I'm going to give you another scenario. Imagine it's your first day at your new office. Your first day, yeah? You've got your brand new suit on, yeah? It's a bit cheap because you haven't been paid yet. And you've got your new tie, your new shoes, and you walk up to the office and you're really nervous.
Want to impress.
You walk in, there's no one there to meet you. You don't really, because you have 3 things you want on that first day. You want to know you're in the right place. You want to know you're on time, and you want someone to meet you. That's your basics of Maslow's theory of safety. So you go in, it's your first day, and I've done this. I went to a course in America, and there were 25 people sitting around there. And the sales trainer come up. This is the next 6 months. Then, from 6 months, I said, right, let's get to know each other. And there were 25 in the room. Number 1, tell us something about yourself. What you hope to achieve, and 3 other things. And, one thing you've done that's different or really exciting. And number one says, I'm Nora from here, and I've done this and I've done that. And then number two, number three, number four, number five, and you're number 19 out of 25. Oh my gosh, Peter, how interesting. And you get all around to you, okay? And the sales trainer says, wake up, wake up. Because you're so bored. Then you've all done your introductions, and IT come in. And IT do half an hour on how to put your name in the server, how to do this, how to look at that. Then HR come in and they talk about your sick pay and how to do this, and you got to ring that and you got to do that. And you've spent 2 to 3 hours sitting on your bottom, bored senseless. And that is what your company is saying to them. So how can we mix it about? How can we make things more interesting? So sales trainer, what we do is we teach different ways of doing things. For example, instead of getting them sitting down straight away, don't worry about the lesson objectives. We can tell them anytime. Let's get them up. Okay, everyone up. There's 25 of you. We're going to do the shake hands game. Shake your hand and tell them your name and walk around for 3 minutes. Now, shake the hand and tell them what your mum calls you. Shake your hand and tell us your favourite football team. Shake the hand and pretend you don't know who they are. Shake the hand and pretend, you're not interested in them. So what it is we're getting everyone involved in the learning. And this is what it's key. So sorry, I've gone about long ways in there, and I probably haven't answered your question.
You have explained in a very detailed way, Krish, and I understood totally, because I've been to training so many times, so I can totally relate what you are going to say here. Because see, what happened ultimately, we want that we learn with fun, right? We can't learn without just telling the same old method and using the same old method again and again. So whatever you said is totally, I agree, and I am sure that my viewers are also agreeing on this part. And with this, I think my next question you have already answered, which I was going to ask, like, why sales managers or sales trainer require training, which I think with this answer is already is okay. Understood.
Well, let me just answer that something different. Okay, you have a team, okay? It's their first day, and you have a 6 months plan, okay? You've written down what they're going to achieve on the first 2 days of induction, and the lessons now for the 6 months, what you expect them to succeed at the end of week 2, end of the month, end of month 2, end of 3, okay?
Right.
Now, inside that, how do you guarantee that happens? What are the techniques you can use? Now, there are principles of effective instruction by a guy called 𝗔𝗯់. Now, all your people out there listen to this. Principles of effective instruction by 𝗔𝗯់. It gives you 10 points about how to run the perfect lesson. It's brilliant.
𝗔𝗯់. Okay.
𝗔𝗯.
Okay.
So he teaches you connecting and how to do the things that people don't show you, how to split learning into small bits, how to trunk learning, how to make it into smaller steps. But that's part of it. Now, let's just say on day one they come in and you want them to learn your company facts and figures. Now, in my experience, sales trainers will get up and they'll have a lovely PowerPoint again, and they will have a picture of the first office that they ever worked at. And they will say that we were created in 1997 and our first owner was this. And then they'll show a couple more slides and slides and slides and slides and slides. Does that accelerate people's learning? How can we make them learn that quicker? So what we do is we do accelerated learning games. So I'm going to give you an example of an accelerated learning game, okay, for company facts and figures. First thing I want you to do is go to your company website and find on your own, find 9 facts and figures about the company. And I've given 9 pieces of card. Write one on each piece of card. So now you've got investigation. They're investigating the company website. They're having an opinion of what they think the best are. So they've read them. Now they've got an opinion of them. Now I want them to rank them. What do you think is the best at the top? 2, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so we'll all have a little break there. Now I want you to get into pairs and compare what you've got against the next person sitting with you. What are the same? What are different? Why are they different? How many times are they reading these facts and figures? Now I want you to get in a group of 4 and agree just one set of 9. Okay, so the 4 of you, so you've got things like teamwork, delegation, you've got decision making, all these things. How many times have they read the same thing? So they do that and they put it in. Now, one person in the group stands by and justifies. So they stay with their 9 cards and 3 others go round to the each groups and to see what those groups have written. So group B, oh, look, they've got something different as number 1. They've got something completely different. So now, oh, interesting. So they've all got something different. Then I get them to choose their top 3. And they have to do a presentation on those top 3. It's not a PowerPoint presentation. Group 1 has to do a song. Group 2 has to do a poem. Group 3 has to do whatever I'm going to make them do. It's normally something, a poem or a song or a limerick or so they all have different tasks to do. And when they come back, they have to present. So we've done that. So they've had to put into rhyme. Do you know how hard it is to put information into rhyme? So how many times they do? Then I get up and I do my bit. And I say, this is what I expect. This is what our 9 things are. So then they've read that. Then the next day, each person has a give a presentation on one of the different 9 things that I have said. So I guarantee you, by day 2, especially with the quizzes and competitions I run, that they will know 9 company facts and figures off by heart. And I run that same quiz every 2 days. So that keeps the memory going. Let's have a look at something else. Give me a sales technique that you'd like to train out.
Closing technique.
Closing's a bit naff, isn't it? Because it's you know, there are 2 closes. There's the push, where you say, when would you like that delivered? Was it Tuesday or Thursday? Or there's the pull. Okay, so let's rephrase that. So what you said is you really like training a sales trainer. You'd like your sales trainers to be the best in the world, and you really want to accelerate your onboarding by a month at least. Is that right? So what would you like to do next? And that's a pull close. So there's a push and a pull close. So I would teach the 2 different closes. And then I put, right, which one do you prefer? What one do you prefer, Gory? Do you prefer a push or a pull?
I prefer pull.
Yeah, me too.
I prefer.
Me too. So we look at other things. We could look at objection handling. A real good thing for objection handling is trump cards. So what you do is you put the objection on one side and the question on the other.
Right.
And they pick it up and they have to say, right, this is the objection, and the other person has to deal with it. Replacing
every objection with a question.
Yeah. Or you can play games as well. So you could start connecting, could be the empathy game. Right. So whatever anyone says, you have to say, I totally understand. So you could say, hi, my name's Chris. I've got a dodgy haircut. I totally understand. My name's Peter and I've got really funny feet. I totally understand. So, but you do different because everyone has a different response to an objection.
Sure.
So mine is, I totally understand what you're saying. Other people is, you know, I know you weren't expecting this call. But, so that's another trump cards. But I was hoping you were going to say something like technical or complex. How do we teach technical or complex data? It is the thing that gets people all the time. So you've got a new product and you've got it from, you know, the product specialist. They know everything. They know how cats' hairs stand up on end and all stuff like that. All stuff that we just don't know. And they give you this piece of paper with all this information on it. Can you go and teach that to the salespeople?
No.
How do we do it? And we do it by a guy called Feynman, Feynman, the Feynman technique. And the Feynman technique is constructed of two parts. You have to explain it to so your grandmother understands, and you have to be able to teach it to someone else. But there's more principles than that in it. But that's how we teach accelerated learning, complex data. So there's lots of different things we could go into, how we teach different things. So what I do is I go into a company and I, for example, value proposition. How do you teach? So prospecting call. Hi, my name's Chris. I'm calling from Happy Days Mondays. How are you today? I'm really well. Look, you know, I know I'm calling you out of blue. You know, the reason for the call is, you know, so maybe we could have a 5 to 10 minute call next week where I could discuss value A, value B, value C, and see what interest that could be for your company and see if we could work together. So, you know, how does maybe Monday or Wednesday next week sound to you? What do you reckon? A simple prospecting script, yeah? So how do we teach those 3 bits of value so they understand it straight away? And what I do, so I do video. So what I do is I give them 3 pieces of information and they have to go out into whatever city they are in. Last time I did it was in Singapore. Actually, it was in London. But I did a very good one in Singapore where they went out to Singapore. They filmed these 3 values and we showed it to the whole company. Now, when you film, it is very difficult to get it right first time. So what first thing you've got to think of is the value. Let's say 50%. Okay, everyone says 50 or 60%. So we say 50%. Right. So that how are we going to film that? How are we going to show that? So that's the first thing the candidates have got to do. Now, not only are we going to show that, how are we going to show the culture of our city so everyone around the world in our company says, wow, that's Singapore. Wow, that is brilliant. And how can we make it competitive? Now, if we combine all that together, then the value proposition is going to be a great lesson. And they're going to learn quickly because they keep, I mean, I did one in Singapore. I did it with a guy was calling into Australia, a guy was calling to Hong Kong, and a guy was calling to China. So 3 totally different regions of the world. And they're put together and they were doing a lift scene. So basically the guy was coming out the lift and he was saying, and a 50% reduction. And the 2 guys were, one had 2 bottles of water. One was £1 and one was 50p. He drank the £1. Oh, this is expensive. How much was yours? 50p. Oh, it tastes the same. Now, the guy coming out the lift took 20 times to get his entry right. He just kept hitting the door or kept doing stupid things. So they kept constantly replaying the 50% reduction. So it's things like that. So one more. So how do we train our salespeople? What the objections or what the problems they're going to have on a daily, weekly, monthly basis? Well, I play crazy golf.
Okay.
On the second day of onboarding, I take them to a crazy golf place in London, and each hole has a different problem they were going to. And so what they do is they play the game and they have to write down one way of dealing with it. At the end of the day, I collect all the bits of paper and I let them go. Yeah, you know, it's second day, let's go and bond and get to know each other. When they come in the next morning, I've got these pieces of paper and I'll go through every single one, you know, how you're going to deal with this challenge, how you're going to confront the challenge, how as a salesperson, you know, core reluctances, you know, I'm really scared that, you know, I'm not going to make 80 calls a day. I don't want you to make 80 calls a day to start with. I want you to be comfortable in what you're doing. We set far too big targets for people straight away. But anyway, sorry, next question.
Yeah. No, so I totally understood. Like you discuss about accelerated learning principles and how you can, teach any sales trainer where he can retain more and, without getting bored with
Yeah.
a, fun and activity way, in a way where, there is a lot of fun, a lot of involvement and, more learning and retaining the things which they are learning actually. I think this is the key.
This is the key, but there's another side to it. There's accelerated learning, and there's something we call AFL, assessment for learning. Now, a lot of people think that assessment for learning has got to be a test or a quiz. It doesn't. Assessment for learning can be the most fun thing going. I mean, we have game shows. I'm sure you have them. India's Got Talent.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. The X Factor.
Yes.
I'm sure you've got Family Fortunes.
Family Fortune we don't have, but India's Got Talent, yes.
But I'm sure you've got loads of game shows.
Right.
You can turn these game shows into assessment for learning. So, for example, you could say, right, what are the 10 things you wanted to learn, and put them 10 questions in Family Fortunes. So, for example, you don't have Family Fortunes. You said you do have Family Fortunes.
No, Family
Is it called Family Feud?
No, we don't have this. So this is on TV, on television. No, we don't have this. We do have India's Got Talent
and things like that. Yeah,
X Factor as well. Yes.
So really, what you should be looking at is your game shows that you have. We have things like Pointless, and we have loads of different games. And what I do is I turn them into learning experiences where they compete against each other. A very good one for you may be Kahoot. Have you heard of Kahoot? K-A-H.
Come again? What's it?
K-A-H-O-O-T. So Kahoot,
I never heard of it.
It's an online game. So I can set the questions here in London, and people can play in India, Singapore, Australia, Germany, anywhere in the world at the same time.
Okay.
So you set the questions. All you need is a phone. The question comes up on the phone and you answer it. And I do everything here. So it's exactly the same. It's an easy way of assessing learning, but it's competitive because you've got to get the question right and the quickest time. So sales consultants love it, because, I always give a prize of $10 minimum, so they want that $10 and bang, and anyway. So what we found is, educational scientists have changed the way they think about learning. Before, we always thought that it's the way it comes in. It's all about the way information comes in. If you're distracted, it won't come in. If you're doing this, it won't come in. Everything, it's got to come in. It's got to come in loads of ways. It's got to be a blended learning approach. It's got to be video. We've got to listen to calls. We've got to listen to role plays, role models. We've got to listen to all this for us to learn. But that helps. But the only way we really retain information is by it coming out. The amount of times we're given to practice, and perfect practice. Now, one of the lessons I do is it's called the sales coaching formula. And the sales coaching formula is how to do role plays. No one's ever taught how to do role plays. We all think, well, a role play is you get in pairs or in a group, you get in pairs, and one of you is the customer and one of you is the prospect, and you have a talk to each other. There is actually a formula that's very effective for doing this.
Right.
Stopping the information, how to give information. That's part of the course as well. And remember, role play should be done singular, then in threes. Sorry, should be done in pairs. Sorry, should be done singular. You should prepare what you're going to say. Then in pairs, then in threes. then it should be recorded so you can see your own play. You know, often we're scared of role play because we know that our sales consultants get very scared of it. But it's the strongest tool in our arsenal. But we just don't do it right. If we do it right, they'll love it.
True.
Sorry.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on this, Krish. Like role plays, and more and more role plays. Like it will make a person perfect. And recording will, they can go back and again see the recordings. They can understand where they are going wrong, and then can rectify, this again with a role play. So
one of the big problems with role play is memory. Now, one of the principles of memory is that we have the ability to change our memory. So, for example, I will do a role play with someone and they will go away with somebody else. And that person will have a slightly different interpretation than this person. And I say, no, I don't think that's right. Oh, this is how you do it. And they'll change it. So practice doesn't make perfect. As 𝗔𝗵𝗿𝗀𝘀, the Green Bay Packer coach once said, perfect practice makes perfect. The coach has to be in amongst it. Sorry, all the time. Sorry, I've got a bit of a throat. Checking for learning. So how many questions are we here now? We're in 4, aren't we?
We are on 4, yes. Krish, a follow-up question. So what do you think that, what the role of mindset plays, with a salesperson when they are doing a role play? I believe that mindset plays a vital role, a person to become a successful salesperson. So what is your opinion in this?
Well, are you aware of Maslow's theory of hierarchy of needs?
Yes, I do.
And it's all to do with safety. Now, when you do a role play, if you're given the chance to be successful time and time again, you'll enjoy doing it. If you're not given the chance to be successful, or there's any doubt in you, you won't enjoy it. So mindset, you have to give them all the opportunities to be successful before they do the role play. So yeah, mind setting is massive. A positive mental attitude. It's the key to all sales training, and it's the big thing that's left behind. Part 8 of my sales coaching, the advanced license, which I am hoping to take to India in February, is psychological needs. You know, how do we deal with core reluctance? How do we get a positive mental attitude into our sales team? As a sales trainer, it's one of the most vital things we do. And I'll ask all you sales trainers out there, how many of you write in lessons purely on psychological issues, mind setting? How many of you do a whole lesson on things like stress? You know, if dealing with bad customers. How many of you actually do lessons on all these things? Anxiety, imagery, you know, mental toughness. And these should all be written in to a 6-month program. So people understand where they are. They understand that they're stressed. They understand why, you know, a good example is when people have got core reluctance, or they've let me start again. A good example is companies who have poor practices. Okay, what they do is they get the salespeople in, they teach all this lovely teaching, and then on Monday they give them rubbish leads that have been called again and again and again. And these poor salespeople have got Peter, John, whoever it is rubbish leads, and they spend the next 2 weeks ringing up dead leads. They get nowhere. And they get frustrated and they get upset because they just can't talk to anyone. And all they keep getting then is training from the sales trainer saying, you know, let's do role play again. I don't want to do role play. I actually want to talk to somebody. So how do we teach people how to deal with these things? I mean, personally, I will never, ever, ever work for a sales manager again who gives me dead leads. Never. What's the point? If they do it wrong, call them back in 3 months with Mr. Perfect, and Mr. Perfect can get the deal. people have got to be given the opportunity to succeed, even on week 2 or 3. It's up to them. They mine the lead. They find the lead. They should be able to call the lead and prospect. The next step, obviously, is they're not going to have the experience to do the second call, but at least they can get them there. So mindset's massively important.
Yeah, I do believe that, Krish. With this, Krish, I just want to know, as you discuss about challenges what a sales trainer face. So what are the main challenges generally a sales trainer while training a sales team? What challenges they face?
I think the key challenges are they're taken from sales into sales training, and they're expected to know how to train. And it's very difficult to train the sales trainer information. You can train the trainer, but to actually get training specifically to the world of sales is very difficult. And that's a very big challenge. I think the next is when a sales trainer is asked to develop a lesson. Okay, so, here's a new product. I want you now to put this into lesson. Now, people don't know when you come out how to actually formulate a lesson. So you connect with the audience, then you activate the learning. So you demonstrate, you show videos, you show calls, and then you show, you do role play. You activate the learning so the person understands what they're doing. Then part 3 of the lesson, you give them the chance to demonstrate. So it might be introducing yourself. So they will then introduce themselves X amount of times. They'll get feedback on how they're doing it. So they get to demonstrate the learning, and then they get to consolidate the learning. So now that learning is, say, the next morning, I always give them an MP3 of all my lessons. So when they go home, they listen to the MP3, sorry, because everyone's got a phone nowadays. So, and when they come in the morning, they've gone through the lesson that I want them to learn. It's only a preset of the lesson, but I consolidate the learning for them. So they don't know how to do a 4-part lesson. And people, I guess the biggest is sales managers, because the sales managers don't understand it either. And if your sales manager doesn't buy in to a training culture, then you're going to struggle. And I've been there. I've been, where you come in, you're the sales trainer. No one ever educates you. You know everything. You're the sales trainer. Hey man, but he couldn't even get his, most people have gone in from sales training from sales are there because they didn't quite make it as salespeople. They've got the product knowledge, so they transfer them over to sales training. But that product knowledge isn't enough.
Yeah, Chris, I totally relate. Sorry, I have been there. I know, I have seen this, so I know it very well. Yeah.
So imagine if someone like me took you to the side and said, Gauri, I actually went into one of your lessons. I actually sat at the back, and I sat there and I watched and I wrote down some notes. Didn't say anything during the course at all. And at the end, I said to you, how could you have better connected to your candidates? And you'll say, well, I could have done this, I could have done that. Okay, that's really good. I really like that. Well, here's a couple of other ideas. What about trying this and trying that next time? And then in your next lesson, I'm sitting at the back and you try the same thing. You try, what I've shown you. And I come back to you and I say, well, what effect did it have on your training? I said, well, yeah, it did. It worked. I really appreciate it. Because sales trainers are never given the opportunity to learn and practice. What we do is when we do go on a course, we go on, one of these dodgy courses we go on. I don't know, I go to these sales expos and I listen to some guy talk about sales training for half an hour and think, interesting, okay, but I never get a chance to practice it because you don't. And, when we're school teachers, what you don't realize is school teachers spend 2 years being observed. When I got my qualified teacher status, I was at a school for a year teaching, and every lesson I had someone behind me watching what I was doing, saying, I think you could have done this. What about this? You could have said that. You could have done this. You see Freddie over there in the corner? You didn't include him in the learning. What could you have asked him? See this guy over here? He's a senior salesperson. This guy's been in the business about a year. How could you have got more information out of the senior salesperson and gotten more involved in the lesson? We don't have that as sales trainers. And that's what we need to do. We need someone to come in and do what the FA did. Someone to come in and do what the Olympic people did. Someone to come in and do what educators did in England. Someone has to come in and set the standards. And that's what I did. If you go on my website, which is trainersalstrainer.com, and you look at standards, what I've done is I've actually sat down and said, what does it take to be a great sales trainer? You know, what are the standards? And now if you look at those standards, you could say to yourself, well, can I do this? Can I do that? Can I do this? Can I do that? And then you'll realize, and it's only my humble opinion, of course, but you'll realize some of the gaps in your own sales training knowledge. And then you can search for ways of making that better.
I'm sure, Krish, that we don't have to go to your website to check that. The way you are talking, like, you know, we can see the depth of knowledge. And I'm sure my viewer, like, we don't have much because it's now 10:30 almost in India. So
Okay.
they will definitely, the recording one, they will definitely get a lot of value. I have learned a lot. I'm learning a lot from you. And with this, Krish, I want to know, how do you measure success? Like, how and when do you know that the training which you are providing is successful? I mean, how do you measure success?
That's a very good question. Very good question. And it's virtually impossible to do it globally. What I do is with all my courses, I give you a post worksheet. So you have to design a lesson. Someone has to watch that lesson. I give you a evaluation sheet and they evaluate your lesson. And that you have to do 2 of those on the educational and 10 of them on the license. And so I'll get the feedback then from what's written. I can see your lesson plan. I can see how you've connected with the audience. Because what I do in the course is I give you a lesson plan template and a lesson evaluation template. I can see what you're doing. Now, I can't see your presentation skills. Well, I could record it, but I can see your mind on a piece of paper. I can see how you've got everyone involved in the learning. If you've trunked it, if you've, you know, all these little things, have you done? And of course, I'll teach you how to do that, but I need to know that you're doing it before I pass you the course. So it's not a pass straight away. I have to see your evidence that you're doing it. Because so many of these e-learning courses, you got these 10 questions and then you can answer them again, can't you? And then you can answer them till you get them right. I don't know if you've learned it through that. So I actually have a post book for you to go and do the work with. And it's something you share with your sales manager. And it really is, it shows how committed you are to being a sales trainer.
True.
But one of the things I'm trying to do set up here in London, and I don't know if I'll be able to do it anywhere else, is to go and watch sales trainers and be their mentor. You know, sit at the back and go, oh, dearie me, you shouldn't have said that.
That's great, actually. So, Chris, with this, like, I'm moving to my second last question. We are already, you know, crossing 1 hour. And
Wow.
before that, have I missed something, asking you something important that you want to share here?
Well, I'm going to ask you. I've got a piece of paper somewhere. Hang on.
Yeah.
What do you think makes a perfect sales trainer? What do you think you need to know?
I don't believe in perfection, basically. Like, I don't know. No one is perfect, what I believe. Right? There is always a scope of learning, Krish, what I believe personally. And a perfect salesperson means, like, you know, suppose I am a sales consultant or I am a salesperson. What I want to learn, if I get the same thing from a sales trainer, like whatever I want to learn, then I think he's a successful salesperson if he's able to deliver what I am willing to learn.
Okay. I've narrowed it down to 8 domains. I think we need to be as good as we can at 8 domains. Domain one
Okay.
is educational knowledge. Educational knowledge, how the brain works, accelerated learning, assessment for learning principles, Rosenshine's principles of instruction. Number two, facilitation skills. To be able to book a place in advance, be able to understand that we need a whiteboard, we need this, we need that, how to set a room up, how to stop emotional factors and environmental factors from ruining our day. We need to be able to plan in advance. We need to understand. I've set up a 𝗔𝗯់₂𝘂𝘁. It's here. It is here actually, and I'll read it to you. A commitment to excellence. Whenever we start a program, we need a commitment to excellence. So how do we plan our stuff? So my commitment to excellence is I will provide the best multi-sensory, challenging, fun, creative, inclusive, and coherent learning experience in the most passionate way. This will be the greatest course I've ever created. And I do that through 5 different ways, or 5 key areas. 1 is the learning, how they're going to learn. 2 is the assessment. 3 is the materials I can provide. 4 is how I'm going to assess them. And 5, how they're going to be evaluated in the future. So that's my promise when I do it. So planning is number 3. Number 4 is designing. I need to be able to design the perfect lesson. Number 5, we haven't even gone into sales coaching. Sales coaching, you know, how do we coach one-on-one? How do we do feedback lessons? How do we do the perfect feedback lesson? So coaching is number 6, I think. Number 7 is personal resourcefulness. How do we deal with the person who doesn't want to be in the room? How do we deal with people who are on their mobile phone? How do we deal with the know-it-all? So we need to have a way of dealing with all these people. And lastly, number 8, I think for a sales trainer, they need to know psychological issues in sales. So I think those are the 8. That's 9 fingers. There must be another one then. But those are the 8, I think, that are really important for a sales trainer.
Yeah, so I want to say here, Krish, you've been there for last 10 years into train the sales trainer, and I am in a sales training, like in a sales job for last 10 years. So obviously you have more than developed my experience, and I'm learning a lot here, and I'm sure my viewer who is watching it live or maybe recorded after, I'll share it in my social media handles. They will definitely going to get benefited from this. So with this, Chris, I move to my second last question. This is a little bit like, I ask with all the, guest speaker here, what was your best moment and what was your biggest challenge in your professional journey so far? If you would like to tell us.
I think when I was working in casinos, I was trying to become a football coach, and there were these. I was working. I don't want to say the football club, but they weren't brilliant. And the warm up was they told the kids to run to the tree and back, and the kids would run up the tree, and they'd be all so excited. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And I said to the sales coach there, "What could you have done differently?" I said, "What do you mean?" "Well, what's the topic today?" He said, "Well, it's passing." Okay, so why didn't you do a passing drill? So what I did, so I got 5 cones, 4 cones in. So let's imagine 5 cones, 1, 2, 1 in the middle and 2 outside. Okay, and I took 1 cone away, and I put 4 people. They had to pass and move to the empty cone. There was no coaching, nothing. So pass, move to the empty cone, pass, move to the empty cone, pass, move to the empty cone. Then I took the cones away, and it was pass, move into the space. So a simple little drill, no teaching, but the kids got it. It's all about creating space. So in 2004, I had my first book released, which was on football coaching. And it's how to warm up and all the different warm-up ideas you could do to teach kids and adults football coaching. Now,
it's a physical book.
Sorry?
It's a physical book?
Yeah. It's called Fun Warm-Ups with and without the ball. Sorry. I've got
no problem. Please have some water.
Now, when I connect the dots now, even today, every lesson I do has a warm-up specific to what I'm doing. So something I've learned, and you know, having a book published before my father was really big, I can tell you. My father's a historian, a very well-educated historian who's had loads of articles.
You said that he was in army also, right?
No. This is, sorry, my stepfather.
Oh,
My stepfather, sorry.
okay.
He's the historian. He's had so many. He's had something like 10 books now published, and always he's in all the periodicals and all these. But I got the first book in there.
That's great. So this was your biggest moment, like.
No, kids are the biggest moment, aren't they? Kids and
Yes, true.
Finding I could break dance was quite important at the time. In sales, I think for me the biggest moment was when I actually sold for the first time. When I actually sold for the first time was massive. It's like, I can do this.
Yes.
That's mad.
That was like generally for everyone, it's a totally different, you can say the moment or the experience basically was selling first time.
Yeah. Also, when I went to Singapore, I had sorry, two people from India came to Singapore. I had Chinese, I had Hong Kong, I had Australian, and 2 Malaysian people. That was my team, and I had to train them, and they were all going to go back to where they were. And I had to bond them straight away. And I had to, in my own mind, I just wanted them to be a team, because the company's based in America. There was no one in APAC. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't going to be in APAC either. I was going to come back to London. So I sat down and I remember thinking, what am I going to do here? I want these people to be friends for life. You know, people you can call up any time in the morning and say, I need some help, because they might be on their own. So I devised 2 days of pure bonding. Just silliest games going. Games like the shake hand game, blind date, all these different games. And you read my LinkedIn, and some of them are on there. They say it was the most creative, fun thing, and they've never bonded so well with people in their lives. These people qualified to account managers 1 month before anyone else in the company ever had. They did it in 5 months. All of them qualified, all 8 of them. That's a pretty big achievement, especially if you're doing something. I went there to do it for 3 weeks, taught them in person, to actually go back to London and teach them from afar. It's quite a big achievement, I think.
Yeah, it's incredible. You're right. You're true. So you can have some water, Krish.
I've had a chest infection for the last week. I thought I'd go over it.
It's cold there, right?
Yes, I went to Edinburgh actually.
Oh, okay.
It's even colder up there.
So I really, don't want to, it's going, I wish that this would go and go again. Like there's a lot of learning from you here. But actually we are just, past 1 hour here. I think with this, I'll go with this last question with you. So before we wind up, what one piece of advice or message you would like to give to the sales trainer who has just started their career as a sales trainer? What one piece of advice you would like to give?
TrainTheSalesDrainer.com. Educators Award. It's there. Take it. It's brilliant.
That's really good.
If I was to give anyone any advice when they first come to sales training, educate yourself as much as you can. Read as much trainer. Read as much articles as you can, because you're on the start of your journey. A lot of people come from sales, and they've been doing sales a year. They think they're still in the journey of the sales. You're not. You're in a completely different journey now. You're in the training journey. And there's 2 parts to a sales trainer. There's sales and there's trainer. And they're completely different. And to actually bind them together, you need to go and learn how to teach. So that's what I would say. Try and learn how to teach effectively.
True. I also want to say that all the sales trainer, basically, like before this episode, I was not very sure about, like, why a sales trainer required training. But now, like, my eyes are wide open after listening to you. And there's a lot of things we need to learn. Like teaching is not that easy part where a salesperson can teach whatever they know. That is for sure. And after listening to all your, the principles and the techniques which you use, I am sure that definitely it's going to help a sales trainer. And with this, yeah.
I hope that one thing I have demonstrated is a
Mhm.
passion for it. And I think you have to have a passion for people to be a sales trainer. And some
Yes.
people just fall into sales training without having the passion for people.
Mhm.
You have to get that passion to be successful.
Yeah. True, Chris. Thank you. With this, thank you very much, Chris. And
Thank you.
thank you for being my guest today. And I have got a lot of value from this podcast. And I'm sure that our viewers who will be watching this recording and live, they had a lot of learning today. And I wish you all the best for your coaching and training program, Chris.
Thank
And
you.
hope we'll meet again. And we'll meet again shortly, Chris. With this,
Well, I'm
thank
hoping
you.
to come to India in February to run my first advanced license, which will be
Oh,
me doing the training for a week. So maybe you could pop
oh,
along.
oh, that's great. So, which city you are visiting?
I'm looking at New Delhi at the moment,
Oh, New
but
Delhi.
I'm quite happy at. What I want to do is I want to find out if I can get 15 people who want to do it, and if I can get 15 people, I won't make any money out of it, but I think it'll be a great experience to bring it over to India and people who are really passionate about it to get a chance to to see another side of sales training. So at the moment I'm looking at New Delhi, but I'm 𝗔𝗵𝗿𝗀 or Chennai. It's right, isn't it, Chennai?
Oh, Chennai.
Yeah.
Yes, Chennai. Yeah. So
I've spent some
here
time in Chennai. I've walked along the beach. That is
in,
one long
definitely.
beach.
And we can meet there. Like I'm in Hyderabad. Chennai is very near to me. I can always come down, and I'm sure that our viewers and whoever will there, like definitely they're going to benefit with your program. And with this, all the best, Krish,
Thank
and
you very
hope to
much.
meet you soon. Thanks. Bye bye.
Okay, cheers. Bye-bye, everybody.